games.
No, last night I was not watching the match.
Oh, you tripping, man. Man, come on, Sugar. I'm disappointed.
You know why I'm not watching
I'm
the games?
disappointed.
You know why I'm not watching the games?
Why not?
Because it don't matter anyways. I ain't gonna win nothing. I'm already out. There is no. I had Michigan going all the way, and even if they would have won all the way through, I still would have had. I don't know. It would have been hard for me to win. But that game last night against UCLA, I've heard, Michigan lost 51-49. UCLA. How about UCLA? How about this? Before the brackets came out, this is how crazy life is. When I thought Michigan State was going to beat UCLA in the play-in game, I had my bracket filled out for Michigan State to go all the way to the Final Four.
You did.
So the way the play-in games work is whoever you pick for that game, whether it would have been UCLA or Michigan State, if I would have left my bracket alone, I would have had UCLA going all the way by default. I would have had that by default. You don't have to pick who wins the play-in game.
Oh, really?
You just get that seed going through, whether it's UCLA or Michigan State. You just get that seed.
Okay.
So I could have, theoretically, if I wouldn't have changed my bracket literally at the last minute, the day that they were due because of the play-in game, I would have predicted UCLA going to the Final Four, and I would have won my bracket hands down right now because everybody else in my bracket, I think a couple of people have 2 teams left, and everybody else just has 1 or none. I think out of our 20 brackets that we had filled out with our friends, we had 17 of them or 16 of them had Michigan winning the tournament. 16 out of 20 had Michigan winning the tournament. Everybody thought Michigan was going.
So they're not good at picking brackets. See, I don't do brackets. I don't do brackets. Actually, there's like usually one person who gets it all right, and you're just wondering how does that happen?
But I told you, the one lady that won the ESPN won because she picked where she wanted to go on vacation. Like it's not like she meant to do it.
Hey, you pick how you want to pick, and you see the results. So did she win like $1 million?
She won the ESPN bracket, whatever it was that year. I don't know if it was $1 million, but it was a lot of money. I know that. It was crazy money that she had. That she won with that, which is, good for her. But it's not like listen, I don't care who you're talking about. These dudes that get on TV and talk about how they know who's going to win these games. Nobody knows.
I mean, they're no better than us. I mean, we tried to do the predictions, but, we already said that when Ohio State lost, pretty much there was like 0.01 brackets in America that were actually correct at that point. So the first day, one of the first games, or was the second day? It was the second day again.
It was, the second day of games was the one that really got everyone.
Well, the play-in was the first day, right?
Yeah.
So the play-in was the first day.
And then by the time we got to the end of the first weekend, everybody was buzzing. Here's what's funny. My father watches like Division III basketball. Like my father
that come on TV.
Sport. Oh my gosh!
How do you even watch that?
I watched a good basketball game. I watched John Carroll and Otterbein. Right, that's what he goes. But when he fills out these NCAA brackets, my dad is like a savant. Right, he filled out his bracket this year, and I'm like, Dad, this is a horrible bracket. There's no way these teams are going to win. Whatever. My dad is currently in 3rd place out of everybody that filled out the brackets, out of our 20 people. And it's great. Like he might win a little bit. It won't be a lot of money. We don't play for big money or anything, but it's crazy. Like it's never the brackets you think are going to be great that are great. And it's a nuts thing the way these brackets work. But the basketball has been interesting. One side effect of this tournament is Liddell from Ohio State.
Yeah.
The kid who was receiving death threats because of the end of the game that they lost. He's talking about entering the draft early. He just announced that today. I don't think he's ready for it.
Is he hiring an agent, though? Because if he hires an agent, then
it's a wrap.
Yeah, I don't think he's ready.
I don't either.
Yeah.
But here's what the NCAA tournament does. It shows us players like the point guard from Oral Roberts that beat Ohio State. But
they already know about him, though. Like,
yeah, but nobody was really talking about him. It's
or
like
maybe his games wasn't on TV like that.
That's what it was. It's like when Dwayne Wade was at Marquette or when Steph Curry was at Davidson. Nobody talked about them until they got into the tournament and won a couple games. Then you're going, oh, my gosh. But by the same token, you get some of these other guys that, get some heat. Like this poor kid who went for the NCAA tournament. This kid wouldn't be thinking about going to the NCAA. Mm-hmm. He would have been in love with Ohio State. Would have been great. And that's the power of this NCAA tournament when a whole nation is watching every game.
But think about if Ohio State did come in there as one of those number 1 seeds, how, he would have got even. But this is the thing. Gonzaga got the easiest way to get to the Final Four, as opposed to, what was it, 2002, when Ohio State had to go through that gauntlet of like Kentucky and all that other stuff, where we ended up losing.
Right.
Normally, when you are the number one seed overall, you are supposed to have the easiest way to get to the Final Four.
Right.
And you saw that when Gonzaga. And I'm like, man, seriously, like, they really didn't have any competition. So them getting there was to be expected.
But you don't know before this thing starts who's going to have an easy way and who's not. Illinois didn't think they were going to have the problems they had.
No.
You know what I mean?
No.
All these teams. Michigan thought they were going to the Final Four. Got beat by the 11 seed. You know, if Michigan beats the 11 seed, you start looking at the teams they beat to advance.
Yeah.
You start saying, well, they didn't beat anybody to go. They got beat by an 11 seed. They supposedly had a pretty easy way to go, too, until it's like Mike Tyson said, everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth. Like Michigan thought they had an easy route.
Yeah. I was about to say something about, oh gosh, what was it? It was just on the tip of my tongue. But it was about I can't even remember. But at the end of the day, you know, I'm really surprised that Michigan lost last night. I was not rooting for them at all. But I'm thinking like, hey, you know, it would have been more interesting to possibly, you know, see them in the Final Four and possibly, you know, face, because they would end up facing Gonzaga, right? If they had made it. So they would have had to beat Baylor though, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So beating Baylor, I just thought it would have made for a better game. Oh, this is what I was going to say. What have I been preaching normally the whole time about Gonzaga?
That they're no longer underdogs.
No.
And they're overrated.
Well, I always say they got a choke job in them.
Choke job.
Okay, so this time they proved me wrong, but they got to make it to, you know, they got to make it to the championship game. So they still got another game to play.
But now look at them. Now they get to take on the 11 seed UCLA Bruins, who beat Michigan, but they're the 11 seed. Theoretically, Gonzaga should wipe the floor with them.
Theoretically, but UCLA is one of the most storied programs in NCAA history. So, you know, I mean, they have a lot of, you know, cachet going in there, even though they don't have the record. Even though, you know, they don't have the record and they're not that normally UCLA, but you see that, you know, Michigan, they clamped down on defense at the time that they were needed to. And Michigan had, you know, 8 trips to try to win the game, tie the game, and they clamped down on defense. And, you know, they did what they needed to do when it counted. So I was really surprised. And, you know, I asked you who you were rooting for. You told me you were rooting for Michigan. You know, obviously I got really upset with you.
First of all, it's a very strong term.
Okay, so give me the right term then.
Give
me the weak one.
I was passively hoping that they would win.
Okay, passively hoping, being a traitor, being a Benedict Arnold.
Let me tell you where my friend Todd, God bless him, love the kid, his tournament bracket had OU against Ohio State in the finals, with Cleveland State playing Ohio State to advance in like the Elite Eight or whatever it would have been. Let me tell you where that loyalty got him. He currently has the worst bracket in our voting. Ohio this time got you the worst bracket out of anybody. So I don't know. At a certain point, loyalty doesn't get you where you want it to go. So now we've got a Final Four. We've got a Final Four shape. Now you look at one side of this bracket, and you've got you know, a number 1 seeded Baylor against number 2 seeded Houston in the other bracket. And then you've got a number 1 seed in Gonzaga against the number 11 seed UCLA. So 3 out of the 4 seeds in the Final Four stayed pretty close to what you thought was going to happen. And that's kind of the way the Final Four ends up. You can have upsets and stuff. There might be one upset, reminiscent of when George Mason got all the way to the Final Four a few years ago. VCU got to
it happens.
It happens. Yeah. But maybe one slot. These brackets where people pick like 2 13 seeds to go, that never happens. It almost always plays out pretty similar to where you thought it was going to be when it all shakes out. There's a reason these teams get seeded that way. It's kind of made so they get there, but then UCLA puts on the slipper.
So then you're kind of saying that the people that are behind Selection Sunday kind of have an idea of what they're doing.
They kind of know how these things play out. And that's the way it should be. These teams played well all year. They have the best records. You want to see at the end of the day, you want to see the best teams play for a championship. We love an underdog, but at the end of the day, you want to see the best team get the championship. You want to see the most deserving team to get there. I think a lot of people would have said Baylor and Gonzaga were the 2 best teams going into this tournament.
Really?
I think a lot of people felt that.
Really?
I thought Michigan was in the discussion.
Yeah.
a lot of people you talk to said Baylor Gonzaga were the best team in the tournament. Illinois got some love too, until but nobody said UCLA, and that's why I think this is where UCLA's journey ends. I think unless they pull a Butler, Butler, a few years ago that kind of pulled up, but I think this is the end of them. I think Gonzaga runs through UCLA.
Gosh, it's just hard for me to get excited about Gonzaga. Like I told you, like these guys just look like they show up for intramurals, at the rec center, and that's that, and they're like, this crisp passing, and I guess I just don't see it. I guess I should be looking for it. But that's the thing about Gonzaga. I've had this, where I rooted for them and they've been the underdog, and then they keep disappointing me. So I'm like, okay, I'm not going to rock with y'all anymore.
System, and now they've got athletes plus that
and
system.
That's the thing. So now you're recruiting on top of the system that you're playing. So now, that better recruitment is taking you a little further than, where you've been past.
It was once they got the Nike contract. And back when they got, they weren't a Nike
school. They were like Adidas or something.
No, they were probably with Tracks. Remember Tracks?
No.
Like the Kmart shoes, the 4-stripe Adidas. The Adidas with 4 stripes on the side. They had like a contract with Tracks. They started winning. They got that Nike contract. Everybody wanted to play for Gonzaga. You know who they remind me of, Rachel? They remind me of 90s Duke.
With Christian Laettner?
That era where Duke was never a basketball powerhouse. They weren't the greatest team. Right? Danny Ferry, they started talking about it. Then all of a sudden, every year Duke was good. And they were an underdog team. And then every year they were that fundamentally sound team. When you had all these really fun teams to watch, you had UNLV, and you had Michigan, you had these great programs that were fun to watch, and then you had Duke just passing the ball and running 3-man weaves, and then all of a sudden they built up, and then they were a powerhouse, and all of a sudden that's Gonzaga.
Yeah, but less flash, I think. Less flash.
Can you get less flashy? Can you? Who was the flashiest Duke player? Bobby Hurley?
Yeah.
I mean, Grant Hill was kind of flashy, I guess.
Yeah, but he was a nice flashy. Like, you hated Duke because of Christian Laettner.
Mm-hmm.
He embodied everything you hated, I mean, I don't think people even care about the school, it's a beautiful campus and you got to have really good grades and it's all hoity-toity. So there's enough things to hate. You could be elitist about it, but it was Christian Laettner. Christian Laettner knew that he was hated, and it was like a 30 for 30 special, and he embodied that. I haven't seen that one.
It is, you've got to.
But he accepted that role as a villain. It rode him to NCAA titles.
Yeah.
It really didn't translate for him in the professional arena, but hey, it is what it is. So it's going to be really interesting to see who's going to come out and be that national championship. Who you picking before we go to break?
All right, for my final 4 games, I'm going Gonzaga. And I am going Baylor. And I think at the end of this tournament, I think Gonzaga go ahead and I think they win the whole thing.
Okay, Gonzaga. All right. I guess I could go with that. I'm just like, man, after Ohio State left, it's like I don't.
I like that Houston team too.
Five Slam Majama.
They have been a fun team to watch.
All right, we're gonna take this really quick break. You're listening to Her in the Huddle on WOVU and 95.9 FM.
This church, the Greater Cleveland Congregations and MedWorks is holding
For you, 95.9 FM. Everybody, this is the Face the Franchise, Sugar Booker, and I am with Rachel. And Rachel, we want to talk about the NFL. Big news this week. The NFL owners ratified a 17-game schedule for 2021. This is coming from CBS Sports, and there's just a little bit about how this is going to work. One of the biggest changes is that there will be an interconference alignment for the 17th game. Teams are going to play 5 interconference games instead of 4, and AFC teams will get the home game this season. The next year, the NFC will get it. The conferences line up. So some of the key matchups, as you look down this list of kind of entertaining matches, the Packers go to the Chiefs. That's a big game, 2 playoff teams. And the AFC North, the Seahawks visit the Steelers. That's a big one. The Rams, Ravens. The Cardinals come to visit our Browns. The 49ers visit the Bengals. So the 49ers-Bengals game, that's the only one I believe that doesn't feature a playoff team from last year visiting the AFC North. And then other than that, there's not – well, the Cowboys go to the Patriots. A lot of people are looking forward to that, although those aren't 2 teams that had very good seasons. But it's still the Cowboys and it's still the Patriots. So when you look at that now, as far as we know, they're not looking to shorten the preseason. So you're not looking to take a game away from the preseason. A lot of the players weren't excited about that. I know the Players Union wasn't excited about that. Rachel, what do you think they're going to get from this? What do you think they're going to lose with this? What's the pluses and minuses to this?
Give me 18 games, baby. Woo! I love it. Wow. I'm ready. Give me some more football. I've been ready for the Browns to play since they lost against Kansas City Chiefs. Let's go. So, you know what? This is so hard because I look at it like, why did y'all sign that union contract? Y'all knew that this was coming down the pipeline. Right. I don't understand why y'all were so quick to sign that contract and not actually negotiate some things because you knew it's going to be 18-game season eventually. That interconference thing, so that thing you mentioned, that was the AFC thing, right? The interconference? They
come to, they're interconference games. This year the AFC hosts, next year the NFC hosts.
Okay, so for that 17th game.
For the 17th.
Okay, I like that.
And then they've got it like each like this year, the AFC North, their 17th game is against the NFC West. So your division plays another division.
Yeah, because they're already playing the NFC North this year.
For the regular season. Yeah.
Okay. So I like it. You know, I think it satisfies the masses. We want more football. This is a football country. So I'm super excited that there's going to be more games. But you have to look at it, the wear and tear, the preseason. But also with the preseason games, you know, it's not your starters really playing. Yeah. You know, they're playing a couple series, not a lot. In the 4th game, they're not even playing. So it's like, hey, that 4th game you're not playing, that's your 17th game later in the season.
I feel like now, though, you're going to your season ticket holders again and saying, buy this extra game.
They willing to pony up the money, though.
They're going to do it. I know.
And that's the thing. You had that market there. And I think one thing, you know, it taught us, there was a football season, but it teaches us how important, well, sports don't have to be important, but it was something that brought people together. And when you have a world that constantly is nonstop and it comes to a stop, and there was no sports, and some of us, our livelihoods are through sports, is what we know, is what we care about, and all of a sudden stops. You know, we got a chance to see what was important, such as family and all that other stuff. But sports is interwoven into the fabric of our lives. And we saw just how important that was, and we want to consume more. I'm good with them expanding the team, you know, the March Madness, you know, you have the 68 teams, but, you know, hey, expand it to more, 72. But with the uneven game schedule, you know another game is coming.
I think they're going to eventually have to add that other game, and I don't know why not. I mean,
just do 18. Why do 17?
Now, if we can add one more week and push it back again, one more week, if you could have one more game, that would put the Super Bowl traditionally on President's Day weekend.
So people would have that Monday off. But not everybody got President's Day off, though, anyway.
Yeah, but you got a shot. You got a shot.
Make it a national holiday.
Take that vacation day.
Make it a national holiday. Give it to the Democrats.
Don't they make it
no filibuster. No filibuster.
Why don't we have Super Bowl Monday as a national holiday?
You know what? And I'd even be fine with moving to Saturday. Saturday is more of a party night anyway. You know, and that gives people the opportunity. You know, you don't have to worry about getting up Monday because if the ball game goes in overtime, all the celebration, pageantry. Obviously, things are different this year, but, I just feel like Saturday night is just safer and you can do more.
I can't take any more changes since they moved this NCAA
It'll be okay,
tournament
though.
all over.
Okay, so last night was super weird.
Yes.
And I was so tired with the game going off at after 12 o'clock. First of all, it didn't start until 9:47. Yeah. So that was already crazy. I'm like, what time the game coming on?
Right.
When is the game coming on? So I'm watching one. And I'm like, okay, what's happening next?
Right.
So you're waiting around. I mean, it came on fairly quickly, but that's an NBA game. But NBA games, well, someone started at 10:30. Yeah. But
I feel like though next year we won't have that with March Madness. It was just because they were all playing at the one place and they didn't have the multiple facilities. Like I think that we'll see that change back next year. I hope they go back to the regular schedule next year.
Yeah, it was a little difficult, having the games, during the weekday in the manner that it was. But, hey, it is what it is.
We like our traditions in sports. And there's some people that don't like going to this game. People complain when they went from 12 games to 16. I remember that. That was a huge thing. And people are like, why do we need 16 games? And now the record books are going to be all off, and we'll never know who's the greatest of all time because they're playing more games. People say that all the time. Here's the good thing for the Browns. There could be a team that goes 0-17 now, and then 0-16 won't be the worst record of all time. Yeah. And the Browns will get that ghost out of the room. How much does this change, Rachel, your opinion on this change if the Browns didn't have so much success this year? Everybody's excited to see the Browns. We're excited for that extra game.
It's America's team, baby. If no more Dallas Cowboys. America's team.
If they weren't as successful last year, do you think Browns fans would still want that extra game, or would that just be another game they weren't paying attention?
I think so. You've been down to a Browns game before. Just the atmosphere of the crowd, the pageantry of it.
Week 16 of the bad seasons, and there was nobody at the game.
Yeah, but if you don't have a bad season, you don't have a problem.
So what happens to those teams? There's going to be some teams that love it because their teams are good. There's going to be some teams that need that game. There's going to be more teams that game isn't going to mean anything, and it's just going to be another week added on to the end of the season. For a lot of teams, I think that's going to be the case. I don't know how popular this is going to be when you get to that game.
I mean, but, I think people still manage to have fun with it anyway. The 0-16 season, it became a joke. Yeah. They had a parade. Right. The fans, they chose to do whatever they want to with it. They necessarily, people didn't attend games. You couldn't give away. I mean, there's been times where I've literally tried to give away Browns tickets. It wasn't during the 0-16 season, but you can't get people to go. But they already got your money.
There's some clunkers in that line. Vikings and Chargers, for example. Bears at the Raiders. I don't care about that. Saints at Titans is a pretty good game for that last one. Buccaneers at Colts might be sneaky good. We'll see how the quarterback situation works out in Indianapolis. So I guess, and Falcons at Jaguars. That's going to be a bad game. Giants at Dolphins. Probably not a great game. Eagles at the Jets. So you've got some clunkers down there, for the good game. I think the Browns and the AFC North have the best slate of games that week. That NFC West is tough, and the AFC North is tough. So that one's going to line up pretty interesting.
But what do you think about the 17-game season helping the NFL possibly expand into other markets? Because that's been something that's been talked about as well. What are your thoughts about that? And what are some of the markets that you would want to see a team in?
Well, I think naturally Mexico is a fit.
Mexico? I ain't going to Mexico for no game. Why Mexico? I don't get it.
I would much rather go to Mexico.
You can't even drink water in Mexico.
That is
what are they going to do?
You get bottled water. You're fine.
Mine is the most revenge.
Not bottled. Have you ever been to a resort in Mexico?
Not a resort.
I've been on a cruise. The country. Go to a Mexican resort. It's wonderful. So Mexico City makes the most sense. I think the London thing, the more they expanded into London, I think they found out it was not feasible.
I'm not a fan.
Keep going back for one game a year, but you can't put a team in London, I don't think.
And it's just so hard. I mean, yes, there are people who can afford to go, but it's just so hard for the average fan to be able to get over there, especially with, how, things are going economically. So, those are the elites who can get over there. And I'm not a fan, just logistically too. You know what I'm saying? The time difference and all that other stuff. I'm just not a fan of that at all.
I feel like the NFL, I think they had their chance when you had the World League and saw that. I think if you're going to expand, you almost have to have a whole nother league. And then maybe you do a true Super Bowl, like you do a Europe League and you have the American NFL, you split up some teams or something like that. I mean, you could do something like that But I think that the reality is if you take those games in London, nobody wants to play those games because that's hard on your teams.
Yeah,
When
the
you
travel.
come back from London, that is basically 2 weeks that your team is shut down. So that 17th game gives you an extra week. Are they doing an extra bye?
I don't think
haven't
so.
seen that either. I
Yeah, I
think if
don't
they
think
go
so.
to 18, they're going to do another bye.
Yeah, which makes sense.
Which does make sense. You can
Yeah.
split that up a little bit better. But to ask teams to travel to London is getting crazy. They've talked about Asia too. They've talked about doing something, in Japan. People are thirsty for American culture in Japan. You might be able to do it.
But do they like football? And that's the thing.
Well,
there's nothing there like it. Do they even play rugby there?
No,
and that's the thing.
They also didn't make rock and roll music, but they love Elvis to this day. Like,
who doesn't love Elvis? First of all, you don't like Elvis? Love me tender. I love Elvis.
Was a hero the most, but he never meant ish to me.
I know. But some of his music, some of his movies.
No, yeah.
I love Elvis.
I don't know where you take it. I don't know that the 17th game is going to have a huge impact on it.
What about Toronto? They already have
I don't know
an NBA team. They already have a Major League Baseball
team. The Canadian Football League is why you don't go to
Toronto.
Toronto.
But it's not that same. It's not the NFL. Putting the NFL there completely changes the game. Yeah, you can have the spinoffs like you have the XFL here and all the other leagues, Arena League. You can have the spinoffs, but there's a difference between having the NFL in town, baby, along with those other teams. So to me, that's another market. I even, thought about Portland. They only have a basketball team.
Portland is in the United States.
I know, but shut up.
I'm just saying.
With me, sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it's hard.
You
gotta check with me sometimes.
I just wanted to make sure that is not in British Columbia. It's right there in Oregon.
Oklahoma City. I'm thinking about.
Here's my thing.
But Oklahoma football.
But are you going to add a team or are you going to move a team?
Add a team.
I don't think they want to add a team.
Why not?
Because I think they're where they want to be. I think that they've added all the teams they want to add.
Move a Florida team because Florida is saturated with football. Move a Florida team. Move Jacksonville or something like that.
Yeah,
Jacksonville don't have no business having a football team.
Tony Khan's got a deep pocketbook, man. He can keep them there as long as he wants. I think if Tony Khan wants a team there, it's going to stay there.
Yeah, I feel like, just get some other cities some opportunities, expand the league, man. I think that's what it's about at the end of the day. But you know what? We are going to take a quick break right quick. You are listening to Her in the Huddle on WOVU 95.9 FM. We'll be right back.
WOVU has brought you 3 exciting panels of the consent decree, as well as informative and
FM, a Burton Bell Carr community radio station with the First Lady of Sports, Rachel Hill. And Rachel, I've been wanting to talk about this for 2 days.
No, sorry, we into it yesterday.
I am infatuated with the heated exchange between Michael Rappaport and Kevin Durant. This has been nuts. And did you catch up on this? Have you seen it?
I heard about it.
So let's read these. I'm going to read these as if they're love letters.
But before you get into reading that, tell everybody they can give us a call too. So they get that conversation.
Give us a call, but don't make threats like Michael Rappaport and Kevin Durant. Be nice to us. It's 216-271-0959.
Or they can hit me up on StreamYard because I'm live on Facebook right now. So any questions, I need to get on Facebook though. But before we get into that, because I like telling people that they can take us wherever they want to go with that app and all that other stuff. But this is with the burner account. It's Kevin Durant. Like Kevin Durant. First of all, you're beyond grown. Secondly, why are you lowering yourself to do something like this? For the second time, you've already been caught once doing it. And that should have been embarrassing enough for you to stop. Now you're dropping in people's DMs.
Right.
Give a little bit about the exchanges because I'm trying not to be mad about it.
So Michael Rappaport made this statement, which I didn't feel was that bad. KD seemed deeply in his feelings with the NBA on TNT crew after the game. Darn it. He's super sensitive about everything. Don't do the interview. Michael Rappaport's like, listen, dude, if you're going to be in a bad mood, don't do the interview. I didn't think that was that bad. Michael Rappaport, a Brooklyn guy. He's a Brooklyn fan. He goes to the games. He supports you. I didn't think that was over the line. But a lot of people, Michael Rappaport just gets on people's nerves too. KD then responded in his DMs with, you a B-word. Michael Rappaport said, just do the curse word interview. And if you're upset about something they've said, say something. Up there looking like you're going to cry. KD said, I did the interview, you curse word. Tell your baby daddy, Chuck, a.k.a. Charles Barkley, to be better at his job and frame his questions better. He gave me 2 options for that curse word question. Yes or no. God? Lord, is that KD? Is that you? Well, of course you are, because you always take the athlete.
That is true. That is very true.
Time.
Chris, that is very true.
Every time.
That is very true.
I guess.
Michael was wrong. That was wrong. That was wrong.
I'm glad he did it.
So
because,
what was the context of this, though, for people who don't know?
Well, okay, so KD got on NBA and TNT. Charles Barkley asked some questions he didn't like. He was in a bad mood. And instead of just answering with grace, KD was kind of whiny, complainy KD, which happens all the time. Michael Rappaport sees it, reports it. Now, KD maintains that he and Michael Rappaport are friends, and they go back and forth harder than this all the time. Now, I don't know if you say this to your friends, Chris, but KD says, I heard it all before, you curse word. Chuck doesn't need you as security, you pale, pasty, curse word, curse word, curse word. I swear I'm going to spit in your face when I see your dirty curse word. Meet me on West 17th tomorrow at 10. Or better yet, what's your address? 10 a.m. at Catch Steak on the corner. Meet me there, curse word. They're both weak. But I'm glad Michael Rappaport posted it so I could read it.
But if
Thank you,
friends,
Michael Rappaport, for letting me read this.
I kind of see what Chris Styles is saying, though. If we're friends and we're cool, you're not posting that.
I want all of my friends, including Chris Styles, who is my friend, to know that if anybody ever talks to me like this in my DMs and says this, I am
I'm
posting
sliding
all
in
of it.
right now.
I am posting
I'm
all of
sliding
it.
in right now.
I'm posting all of it.
Sliding in right now.
You're a curse word for even caring how I do an interview. All you do is curse word other men for attention. Trump didn't pay attention to your sorry curse word. So now you want to use everybody else to get views and laughs. Your life is joke, you curse word, pale curse word, curse word.
That don't sound like they friends. That sounds personal.
Curse word with your brain, you piece of curse word.
That's personal. So why is Kevin Durant always acting like this though?
I don't know. Why are either one of them?
But why does it let it get to him like that? It ends up making him look bad because you don't have to be the role model. Everybody respects you and holds you in a high regard than Michael Rappaport or whoever, you were using a burner account. People respect you more. You're KD.
Apparently then, so the part that I think is even worse is now Rappaport apparently talked to his attorney.
Oh my God.
And his attorney contacted Durant, which now that I don't agree with. And Durant to say curse word will lawyer up. Your wife mad is curse word because you wasted that little bit of money on a lawyer because you can't take a joke. How curse word are you? Your wife doesn't even respect your curse word. I can't take it.
So did Michael Rappaport see this interview online and then drop into Kevin Durant's DMs saying whatever prompted this? Okay.
Yeah, Kevin Durant jumped into Michael Rappaport's DMs because he didn't like Rappaport's tweet. Now, the first issue is, why is Kevin Durant, NBA superstar, concerned with what Michael Rappaport, middle-aged, over-the-hill actor who
ain't been in a Spike Lee film
is a troll. Like, he's clearly a troll. Don't pay attention to it. You're Kevin Durant. But then Michael Rappaport posts the DMs and calls his attorney, which is a no-no. But then Kevin Durant went over the top too by saying, I'm going to come to your house and beat you up. Your ass. Like, what are you doing?
Ain't nobody scared of Kevin Durant. I'm sorry.
Right. Right.
You threatened legal.
Yes. Yeah. He called Saul. Better call Saul. He called Saul on it. He was like, I would have called Durant. You know what I would have done? I would have sent a barber to his house and said, cut your hair, Durant. That's what I would have done. Get a haircut.
B2B.
Yes, I would have done something like that. And he does. What's his next game? But now KD today came back and apologized and said he was out of line. Is
it because of the homophobic slur, though?
I think probably.
Because one thing is, there are certain communities you can't get away with saying things about. And one is
he used the F word. He did not use the F word, but he used other terminology censored for the radio about actions that a gay male might take. Very graphic depictions of what.
Oh, KD can't be doing that.
No,
man.
It was.
Yeah, but man, come on, don't put yourself in that situation where you slide in that DM and know somebody can screenshot it because that's forever too. No, he did not. But
he didn't expect KD to be.
I know. Yeah.
I think they should have a boxing match sponsored by Charmin.
Oh yeah, what was that? Remember that one that used to be? But remember that what was that? The fights that's a celebrity knockout or something?
Yeah, get him in there.
Yeah. KD, he can go in there against a few people, but
I think KD will wash Michael Rappaport though. Michael Rappaport is 55, out of shape. I think
and KD is slim, and he got reach. Michael Rappaport got him in the weight column, but KD got reach.
What is he? 6'10"? Durant's like 6'9",
6'9". Because he got his wife black.
I think Michael Rappaport has good intentions when it comes to the black culture, but he does some stuff that gets out of pocket sometimes. He's got good intentions. I think he's a good guy. I think he is for black people. I think he's an advocate. But sometimes he can't stay out of his own way with what he says. Because you know why, Chris? Same thing happens with Michael Rappaport. It happens with me. Every now and then the white comes out of me and I do white people stuff.
Like St. Patrick's Day?
St. Patrick's Day. Yeah. Yeah.
Of all people.
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a bad way to go. Yeah. Emotions made me cry.
And it is okay to be emotional and show your emotions. It is absolutely okay. But constructively. Let's do it constructively. Calvin don't do it constructively at all. Idolize you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Ah, man, that's a cop out, man.
Yeah.
But this is their job. People criticize them every day. They athletes.
Yeah. Right. I agree.
No, it don't make sense to me. But you know what? We're gonna have to take a break on that. But no, that doesn't make sense to me. So you're listening to Her in the Huddle on WOVU 95.9 FM. We are going to be right back.
We understand that COVID-19 has
the Huddle, our look at sports with the First Lady of Sports, Rachel Hill. And Rachel, I want to shout out a local football squad that we don't talk about nearly enough, and I'm trying to find their record right now. But I've got a friend playing for them. My guy Darius is playing for them right now. The Notre Dame College Eagles.
Okay, Notre Dame College, new program, right?
Well, it is. And last year they were ranked. I believe they finished the year ranked in the top 5.
Oh wow,
the country.
Awesome.
So looking at their schedule so far, they've only had a couple games. They beat West Liberty University in West Virginia. West Liberty actually has a kid. I know his last name is Blue. He went to Cleveland Heights. That plays for West Liberty. A friend of mine's son. They beat them 70-7. They followed up against Frostburg State University and won 25-19. This week, they play Alderson Brodish University. That is a 6 p.m. game on Saturday. Then they head to West Virginia to play Wheeling University on the 10th. And then their conference championship is April 17th. And
oh, wow.
I don't know if they're going to – so a very short schedule, and I don't know if they're going to be doing a national championship for that division. But I just wanted to shout them out because they're one of these local schools. You know, we've got great small college football in Ohio. It's just that extension of the football culture in Cleveland. Mm-hmm. When you start talking about what Mount Union has had for years, now you got Notre Dame that just started their program at Bill. And by the way, their head coach, his name is Mickey Mental.
Oh, wow.
That's a great name.
Yeah,
when your
like
coach is
Mickey
named Mental,
yeah.
I don't want my football coach to go mental. Like going mental is a whole. But you watch that program built up to what it's done. John Carroll has had great football teams. Don Shula was a John Carroll guy. But it's amazing what our small colleges have. Now, I live by Lake Erie College in Paynesville. And they started a team about the same year that Notre Dame did. They have not
really?
Yeah, they have not had that same team.
But isn't Notre Dame's like team less than like 10 years old? Because it doesn't seem
it's brand new.
Yeah, like I remember when they were starting it up, and that was a pretty big deal.
Lake
or whatever.
Erie, the same thing. They've been and you look at the rosters for I'll tell you one difference is Lake Erie's roster. They do have some local people, but they've got a lot of kids coming from Florida, kids coming down from Michigan. And Notre Dame is primarily Cleveland kids. They built a lot of their success by using kids in the area.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Yeah.
How many kids you got with them, Chris? Okay, good.
Yeah.
Awesome. Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Darius, that I know, was a Paynesville kid that went to Lake Catholic. And he ended up playing for Darius Wilburn, I think is Darius' last name. But he played for Lake Catholic and went there and played. But it's really cool to see the success that these local programs have. And that's a testament to how good football is in Cleveland. I think we take it for granted being here, how great it is. And when you look at the fact, and I know that, you know, we're starting to get some year-round football programs with some 7-on-7 stuff that the schools are able to implement now. But for the most part, traditionally, Cleveland has only played in the fall, whereas Florida and Texas and California, they've got year-round different things they've done. Now Cleveland is like, listen, we need to continue to do that and get it going. But for us to really be fall football only and still produce athletes, it's amazing.
Top four in the nation: California, Florida, Texas, and Ohio. Somehow we do it. I mean, SEC, you know, comes in, recruits in our backyards and still our players as well. Yeah, but when I'm watching a national championship game in Alabama and somebody on there from Columbus and Cleveland, I know, but the top need to go to Ohio State. They don't need to be going to Alabama. But do y'all ever think that Cleveland State is going to get a football team ever?
I don't think they will. It's And
like how expensive?
Well,
they got my tuition money. Use it.
They need more than the 3 classes you took. They're going to need you to beef up your calendar if you're going to be supporting a football program. We appreciate your intro to business class that you took.
My $10 donation.
The thing is, in Cleveland, a football school at a college, Division I football, is not going to compete with the Browns, even though they play on different days. And honestly, it's tough for them to compete against Ohio State and all the MAC schools. Like, to add a D1 football program in the city would be really hard. I don't know how they do it. I don't know.
Who,
man.
Cleveland
I think
State?
it's tough.
Oh, really? Yeah. So this city can support Cleveland State if they opt to get a football team. Yeah, but I mean, oh, really? Oh, yeah. I was just gonna ask. So could they go on the Little Sisters of the Poor tour and go play all these schools and get $5-6 million? Why not?
And go 0-12.
Yeah, but you got $12 million.
Yeah, but it's hard to recruit kids to come get beat.
But if they know what's going on, you know, these kids know what's
But
going
that
on.
don't impact them. That impacts the kids that come in 4 years later.
I mean,
Like,
they
the kids that want to come now, they want to go somewhere and win. Mount Union around the corner. Youngstown State. Yeah. 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 That's crazy.
Well, you know.
Oh my gosh, that's ridiculous.
Yeah. For high school. Well,
Yeah.
you know, we are one of the cradles, and maybe one day my alma mater can, you know, have a football team so I can root for them as well. But, you know, Sugar Booger, I want to thank you, you know, for joining me as always.
I'm glad.
And how can the people get at you?
Listen, you can reach me at my home address. I'm going to give that out over the air. No, I'm not. You can find me on the Instagrams at SugarBoog440 and hit me up. Say what's up. And you can call us always on the air, 216-271-0959. Call into your favorite shows. Talk to them about what they're talking about. We want to hear from the community.
And I'm 1ST Lady of Sports, and you have been listening to her in the Huddle on WOVU 95.9 FM.
Perfect.
Alcohol, Drug Addiction, and Mental Health Services Board want you to know that you can be the one to help save a life. If someone you know has been feeling down for more than 2 weeks, has had a major